Welcome to Coaching in Session, where limits end and growth begins.
Hosted by Michael Rearden.
This is your space to challenge the ordinary,
Unlock your potential,
and step boldly into your next chapter.
Your mindset journey continues.
At the time of this release, we are on a very unique day. When you are young, this day can be a day where you're extremely careful. But when you're older, it just becomes one of those days where it's like, are we still doing this? I thought we matured. Now, even though I can say that you matured and you are not thinking of the day as how you would when you were a kid, April Fools, you are still, in a sense, being foolish because adults think in foolishly different manners than kids. Kids might say, your shoelace is untied, and then they go, psych, they're just joking. Or they'll say they got something on your shirt, and then they flick their finger up, got you, right? Or got him, and all this stuff, right? This idea of being foolish or being playful. Yes, it's nice when you're young, you have the flexibility to do so. But when you're older, to be a fool is not so much about the jokes or the practical jokes anymore. Of course, we know there's people who have channels and they make their life on joking and fooling around. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about what it is to not be a fool, to be aware of what's happening rather than just being ignorant or absent about what's truly happening. Because anyone can turn their head, turn their eye, have a blind side to life. And they could say, oh, I didn't know any better. I remember there was the fastest female Olympic runner or something. She was going 104 miles an hour in Florida, and she got arrested. And she was like, sir, I didn't know I was going 104 miles an hour. Well, number one, how do you not know you're going 104 miles an hour or over 100 miles an hour? I know when I'm going over 100, right? I'm like, hey, I'm going over 100. If a cop pulls me over or a police officer pulls me over, I'm not going to have any excuse other than I just like to go fast. But sometimes life is not about just going fast. Sometimes life is about being meticulous in what you do. It's about understanding everything that happens in between. Now, I'm not saying that you need to know everything in order to make movement and progress, but what I'm saying is there needs to be some level of focus. Now, when we start to look at what it means to not be a fool or what a fool really means in the terms of mindset, it's not about the lack of intelligence. It's more so about the lack of awareness, as I said. Because if you are a person that just repeats the old patterns, whether it be dating or career choices or business choices, or health choices, basically, you're just ignoring the truth of what's really happening because it feels good, right? Comfort feels good. Yes, I know sitting on the sofa watching Netflix is not good for me. Yes, I know ordering DoorDash and sitting on the sofa watching Netflix is not good for me. But guess what? It's safe, it's comfortable, but it's a foolish act because it doesn't bring about any level of growth. Now, I understand you could have a rough day and you might need a reprieve. And I'm not saying that at every given second, you need to be this go-getter. You need to be this hungry person. But if you are that person and you can be a go-getter every single day, every single moment, you're going to get so much further in life than the person who says, oh, I'll do it when I feel like it. It's a foolish idea. So we have to basically take responsibility for everything we do and everything we don't do. And you can't be upset if you are not doing what you need to do at every given moment. Now, this pattern typically keeps people stuck. They say, well, I'm not motivated today. Oh, well, I'm confused. I don't know what to do next. It is easy to make excuses. Excuses can run your life or they can change your life. Now, when I say change your life with excuses, I like to live a life with no excuses. Very similar to how, the police pulls me over. I don't have an excuse. I'm not going to say that I liked it or anything because that's going to be wrong to say that because I'm going to be on body cam. But it's going to be more of, hey, officer, I was going that fast. Okay, great. All right, thank you. So what's next? I'm just going to basically proceed and not give them anything to ruminate on. It's just what's next, what's going to happen next. And then whatever happens, we proceed there. If I'm going to jail, I'm going to jail. If I'm getting a ticket, I'm getting a ticket. Now, of course, I'm not going to start yelling and putting the situation further from my favor. You have to sometimes think and be aware. Sometimes there's a time to fight. Sometimes there's a time to listen and be meticulous. And then sometimes there's a point when silence can be exactly what is necessary. But this whole confusing part of life, most people are just living on autopilot and they just do everything the same every single day. They go to work, they're 9 to 5, they go in traffic, they order food, and then they do it the next day and the next day and the next week and the next month and the next year. And then they realize they're at the end of their life. They wish that all the money they had and all the time they spent can be traded in just for another opportunity at youth. They would give everything in order to be young again. It's not even the fact that they are not happy in their current situation. It's just that they understand how valuable youth is. For example, youth. That's when you should be taking the most risks. I'm not talking about speeding. I'm talking about investing, beginning this journey to compound interest, right? In the beginning is slow. I understand. You're 11 starting off investing, don't even care about money yet. You probably start caring about money when you're like in your teens. And it could be 15, 16 when you want to buy a car. And maybe you want to use all that money you have in your investments accounts to buy this car, right? You want to buy the nicest car so you can show all your friends and make all these girls like you or guys like you or whatever. And you have all these people saying, okay, get it right. I love your car. And they want to be friends and pony up to you. Sure, that can be a great thing for the moment. But long term, you're not going to see the growth that you would like down the road. Because we can look at our life from when we were younger to when we're older. And we can say, when we were older or when we are older, we can look back and say how many mistakes, how much money we wasted. I can't tell you how much money I wasted. If I had to redo my life again, yes, I would buy Google, I would buy Amazon, I would buy Apple, I'll buy stocks, right? I would not waste money on things that don't matter. Maybe clothes that I wore to make people like me or maybe make me feel better. So I felt like, oh, I was someone. Sometimes we have to get rid of our emotions in the sense of what's going to make us feel good or what we think is going to make us feel good. Because this idea that someday everything is going to work out is a nice idea, but it's a very foolish idea, right? Why not just say, you know what? Instead of someday things are going to work out, why not begin the process to make sure that someday everything will be in alignment? Because life is not guaranteed. I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. You don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow, but yet we live like we have tomorrow. We have our work schedule already lined up for the week or the month or the year. And before you know it, maybe that job goes under, you lose that job, you lose that income. What do? Typically, when you lose something like a job that's keeping you afloat, you're in full panic mode. And you're like, oh my goodness, I'm in full panic mode. Let me do something very quickly. Let me find work. Let me find something better. Let me find anything. I'm not sure where you are. When you have this foolish mindset, a lot of things happen. Number one is that you're going to have a lot of missed opportunities because you're not seeing everything for what it is or what it could be. It is easy to say that you have a 9 to 5 right now, you make decent money. Maybe you have some ideas for a business or an invention or an entrepreneurial venture where you could be making a lot more money. But maybe you need capital, you don't know how to do it. Maybe you need skill, you don't know where to get it. There's a lot of things happening, right? Some people say they don't have time. And the reality is the only thing we have is time until we don't have any more left. Because if we don't have time, you're dead. If you do have time, you're alive. So I ask you, are you able to listen to this and say that you're alive? Or are you dead, right? And at that point, it doesn't matter, right? You're not listening to this. You're not worried about today or tomorrow or next year. You have to figure out what's happening, right? Recognizing your mindset, recognizing the bad habits, recognizing how your mind can lead you in a certain way and it can lead you astray, and it's not helpful. Because most people will blame their circumstances, they will blame their life, they will blame everything and everything, and even more. And it's confusing at some point because if you're blaming everything and everyone for everything that is happening to you, but the reality is you are the person that makes the final choice. You are the decision maker. You get to say yes, you get to say no. Most people, they say no every single day, but they just don't say the word no. They subconsciously say no. They wake up in the morning, they hit the snooze button. That's a no. You're saying no. They wake up, they take that first step. That's a no, right? Was it filled with attention? If it wasn't, that's a no. You are moving forward in your life with no mindsets. And it's very foolish because at some point you're going to lie to yourself. Oh, things will get better. I hope things get better. Oh, I'm going to win the lotto. I'm going to have a husband that's going to marry me and have a lot of money, or I'm going to get an inheritance from my family. And I mean, sure, right? Is it possible? Yes, 100%. Is there an aspect of luck that has to be present? Possibly as well. But the idea is most people are just living life in an aloof manner where they are not fully aware, they're not being honest with themselves, and they are just filled with excuses. So what's the fix, right? Well, we don't want to be a fool anymore, right? We want to get out of this idea of being a fool. We want to create some more awareness. Number one, our time is so important. We can't just give it away to anyone anymore. What does that look like? You might say, well, I have to give my time to my work. I have to give my time to my family, my kids. And I also need a little bit of time for myself, right? Because I want to go on Netflix. I want to scroll on my phone or something, right? I understand. But what if we became extremely selfish for, let's say, 1 month of our time or with our time? We say, I'm going to do the things that are going to give me more energy, like going to the gym, eating healthier. I'm going to do the things that are going to give me more profit, like working a job that is within my genius or working in a place that I'm making enough that is not just survival, like working for minimum wage or whatever. Maybe it's I'm going to downgrade my lifestyle so I can live more in accordance to what I'm trying to create, because anyone can live outside of their means right now. Everyone can get a credit card. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people can get credit cards and they can live a life for a certain amount of time. But when you do that, the issue is not so much of the lifestyle, it's of the mindset. It's a very foolish mindset. Why do you need this lifestyle now when you don't even have the foundation to sustain it? So some people, they, are thinking, well, I'm going to trade time for money. I'm going to trade energy for some level of progression or progress. Like that currency is one, as I said in the beginning, where billionaires would trade for more energy or they would trade for more time. And yet we're giving it away like it's a tag sale. And we're just trying to get rid of everything, or an estate sales, even worse. We don't want this in the house anymore. We're selling the house, right? We don't need this stuff. You want to give me a quarter for something that costs $10? Good. Take it. I don't want it. I don't want to deal with it. But yet so many people, they live in, this life, right? But life's not refundable. You can't just say, okay, I got to experience it for a little bit. I tried it out to see how it is. And then I want my time refunded. No, I want my money or my energy refunded. No, it's gone. Can't get it back. And so people, they think, oh, I'm just doing this for a moment. This is just a phase. I'm just trying to get it out of my system. Are you one of those people? Are you being a fool as well? Because it is easy to say that you're going to do something and not do it, or to do something knowing it's not good for you and not make any changes. So if I'm a person that likes to eat out all the time and I know I don't have the financial means to eat out all the time, I'm just digging my own grave. I know there's some people who go to college and they can't afford college and they get all of these loans, and then they start working not in their career. They just start working minimum wage somewhere and they're like, yeah, I'll never be able to pay it off. In short, right? You can get a life insurance plan, a policy, or whatever. and then die in the future and then pay it off. But then that's a foolish way of thinking, right? Most people are just thinking, I'm doing this because I'm doing this for now, instead of I'm doing this because it's going to lead to something more. Most people are being full with their potential. I understand that your comfort is forefront in your mind right now. I want to be comfortable. I want to do things that make me feel okay. Now, sure, I get it. Sometimes you want things in alignment, but sometimes you have to do the uncomfortable things, whether it be making the calls, reaching out to people, having uncomfortable conversations. You have to get uncomfortable. One of my favorite ways to get uncomfortable is to go work out. It's fun because I've been doing it for so long, but it sucks when you have to do things, right? You're out of breath, you're sweating, you're like, man, this is tough. But man, life can be tough as well, right? You're trying to figure out maybe how you're going to pay the bills, how you're going to feed your children, how you're going to keep a roof over your head. I mean, most people are in that situation right now, and yet they are foolish to act. They don't take any ownership. They don't seek any growth. They have a hard time deciding on what to do next. So they just say, I'm just going to be here, right? This is life. This is my circumstance. And it's a very foolish way to live. You have to ask yourself, well, who's the greatest fool of them all? The person who, looked down on April Fool's Day to see if their shoe was untied, or the person who believes that things are going to change magically without them doing anything different? I don't know. But what I will say is, the challenge for everyone who's listening is that there's a place and a time to be a fool, right? It's not just April Fool's Day. It's not like a joking matter, right? Of course, when you are being a fool right now about something, you have to understand that if you are a fool, give it a timeline. Say, I'm not showing up right now and I'm not doing the right thing. I'm being a fool. Give yourself a timeline of being a fool, right? Because you might say, okay, after today, I'm done being a fool. Now, of course, mindset is going to dictate. You should say, I'm being a fool. Let me change right now. Now, the reason I say it in this regard versus in the way it should be done is because it's hard to tell a fool what to do without the lesson. Very similar to how some people, they need to get burned. Don't touch the stove, it's hot. Don't put your hand in the oven, it's hot. And it's not until they get burned do they realize that, wow, what they were saying is the truth. Yes, I understand that we can live life without having to deal with being a fool. We can get a mentor, we can get a guide, we get a coach. But even then, you're going to have your own ideas, your own perceptions of the world. Sure, someday you're going to mature, you're going to become more wise. But when you're young, it's very difficult. I can't tell you when I was a teenager how I thought versus how now I think. I was a fool when I was a teenager. There was a lot of things I wouldn't do, right? Not even just talking about the mistakes of hanging out with the wrong people or being in relationships that don't mean anything. I mean, we can go down the list of all the things that I would say I wouldn't do again. To be honest, my high school life or my elementary life would be extremely boring. I would just be hungry at trying to create more impact in the world and with my family, spending more time with my family. Because guess what? Your family's not always going to be there, right? You're not always going to be there for your children or your family. We all have our number, my dad would say. If we are being a fool right now for avoiding the responsibilities of life, I mean, what's the end goal of that? I think of the movie Peaceful Warrior. And it's a book as well. You can read the book, but I like the movie. Because in the movie, there was a scene where the person was on the bell tower and he had his alter self, his ego, where the ego was telling the individual, Dan, that he needed him, right? To keep him safe, to keep him secure. And I can't tell you how many times we as people keep things in our life that help us feel secure or to help us feel safe or happy or peaceful to some degree. But what Dan realized on that clock tower was his ego was something that was going to be holding him back from his best self, from really breaking through to the next level, from leveling up. To let go of that ego, what happened after, and I even had to do this after high school, is you feel lost. And maybe you feel crazy for feeling lost. Like, why should I feel lost? I feel foolish for being lost. And I don't think you should feel foolish for being lost, because I think there's a difference in the person who is in the dark, not looking for the light switch, and the person who is actively looking for the light switch in the dark. Who's the greater fool? The person who can't see who's doing something, or the person who can't see who's doing nothing? I think what happens is that many of us, we find ourselves in a dark place and we stand still and we don't take action. And as long as we continue to not take action, we're going to have more hardships down the road. Because sure, standing in place in the dark might be convenient for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe a day at most. But at some point, you're going to say, I need some light. I want something different than where I am. But by that time, it's already too late. A day has gone by, a week has gone by, a month has gone by, a year has gone by. How long have you been living in the dark? Because I can assure you that the person who was feeling for the light switch within the first few moments of finding themselves in the dark found that switch, especially if the room was quite small. Now, if you're in a warehouse, maybe it'll be a little bit more challenging, but you understand the metaphor. The analysis is you have to do the work to get the lights on. You have to put the energy forth in order to make some changes. You can't just be a fool and expect things to work out, and you know that they're not exactly right. You're not following your intuition. You're not being true to yourself. There's a lot of red flags, and right now you're choosing to ignore them. Well, if you continue to ignore them, then count yourself as a fool today. I have all of these problems and I'm not doing anything about it. I'm a fool. You can even say, I'm a fool. Now, when you say it, I don't want you to say it as that this is my destiny. I want you to say that this is your moment, that this is your current circumstance, but it doesn't have to be your forever circumstance. You can say that I'm a fool right now. I'm a fool today, but I'm not going to keep on being a fool. I'm not going to be a fool any longer. Yeah, sure. I fell victim, or I fell culprit to a situation where someone said my shoe was untied. And so, just joking. Oh, they say you got mustard on your shirt. Just joking, April Fools. But we can't just let April Fools or one day out of the year dictate when we can be foolish and when we should be foolish. I think the moment you realize you're being a fool is the moment you should wake up. But even though I say that, I understand that it's easier said than done. A lot of people are going to continue to be fools. A lot of people are going to continue to do the wrong thing. And I tell people, if you are a person that's having a hard time getting out of that situation of being a fool, you get yourself a coach, and you get yourself a damn good one at that, because they're going to make it very crystal clear that being a fool long term is not a good thing. Sure, you get to live life. You get to experiences, right? The good and the bad. Sure, the bad is going to help you understand the good, right? We need that difference, right? We need that discrepancy, right? We just can't have all good in our life. So the moments when we're a fool, we can say, whoa, I wasted so much time. Whoa, I can't believe I was doing that. Whoa, things could have been so much better if I acted sooner. And sure enough, in almost every regard of our life, we can say that we were a fool in some regards, that we didn't know fully to some regards. Maybe we did really well in some regards, but then there are some areas that we would change. And maybe you're lucky, right? Where you say, I would change nothing. Most people, they have to fall down to get back up. And if you are a person that's fell down and hasn't got back up, don't be that person that says, I can't do it, or that there's too much obstacles in my way, or there's too many hurdles, or my life is not situated for greatness. It's a very foolish way of thinking. So this idea of being a fool is about the lack of awareness that you have in your life, the lack of awareness that you have for yourself. Maybe you're giving yourself this idea of a moment where I'm going to be a fool for a little bit. It's not going to be long term, but most of the times, people, they say, I'm going to do something for a short period of time, and they keep on doing it for an extended period of time. I'm just going to stay in this job for a little bit. I'm just going to stay in this relationship for a little bit because I don't want to be alone. I'm just going to stay unhealthy for this amount of time because it's easy right now. I'm going to wait till the summer. We can make all the excuses in the world, but a person who's not a fool is not going to allow excuses to dictate their life anymore. So I want you to be brave today. I want you to tell yourself that you're not going to be a fool anymore, that you're not going to allow this foolish ideology of what life is saying that you have to be or what you have to do. You get to decide everything that you do, where you're not just doing things because it feels good. You're doing things because it's going to lead to good in your life. That right there can be true wisdom for yourself. And if you're a person that's struggling, like I said, reach out to us, revenconcepts.com. Get yourself a consultation. It's free. You can even go on to get coaching if you know that you're going to have a hard time with doing the things that I say during the consultation. Again, the consultation is not just me learning about what you are going to be doing or what you are doing. It's me giving you actionable steps that you can do the same day. Not just when you sign up, I'm going to tell you what to do. No. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do. Now, if you want to take that and run with it, you're going to be light years ahead of the people who didn't even reach out. And I tell people the consultation doesn't cost you anything more than setting up the appointment and then 30 minutes in when speaking to me. Sounds easy to me, right? I don't know if there can be anything easier, but I understand the hard part is admitting something is wrong right now, admitting that you have to change, because change can be challenging. Change can be difficult. But if you fail to change, then give yourself that badge by your profile on your Instagram or your Facebook or your LinkedIn and say, I'm a fool. I'm a fool for not believing in more. I'm a fool for not believing in my potential. I'm a fool for staying stuck. Maybe you want to be a fool, right? Maybe you're a clown, right? Maybe that's your profession. But I even think some clowns, they have more wisdom than the regular Joe that are working a corporate job at 9 to 5. Just because someone puts on makeup and a clown outfit doesn't mean that they're a fool. Most people, they can be walking just right next to you in the grocery store and they can just be living untrue to themselves. So find the truth in what you live for. Find the meaning behind everything you do. So don't continue to be a fool when you know that there's a possibility for change, a possibility for your growth, a possibility to understand that where you are right now doesn't have to be where you end up. So find your destination today and don't be a fool and just allow life to happen to you any longer.